The House Standing Committee on Appropriations and Revenue, meeting 6, March 14, 2024, at adjournment of the House. It is now about 4:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Annex Room 149. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Bentley. Representative Brown. Representative Dietz.
Here.
Representative Dossett.
Present.
Representative Flannery.
Here.
Representative Fleming. Representative Frazier Gordon. Representative Freeland.
Here.
Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Gentry. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative McPherson. Representative Palumbo. Representative Raymond. Representative Riley. Representative Stevenson. Representative Upchurch. Vice Chair Bowling.
Here.
Vice Chair Bray. Chair Petrie.
Here. We have quorum and are duly constituted to conduct business. Any member seeking recognition for any special announcements at the beginning? Seeing none, we will proceed to the agenda. We have up first for consideration House Bill 723, an act relating to economic relief for local communities of the Commonwealth and declaring an emergency, sponsored by Representative Richard Heath. And if each of you will introduce yourselves for the record, make sure your microphones are lit up green and close enough to you.
Representative Richard Heath, 2nd House District, Mayfield and Graves County.
Rebecca Hartsoe, Babbage co-founder.
Very good. If each of you will raise your right hands, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I think we have up for consideration on House Bill 723 a House Committee Substitute number 2.
Motion on House Committee Substitute 2.
We've got a motion and a second. And just to make sure, we did have a Committee Substitute 1 that was previously forwarded to all members. 2 was submitted at a later time, and there are really only 3 changes in the bill. There is a May 15 begin date for applications into this new 2024 program. There was a change in the percentages, it was a change in the match component by the locals. Rather than it being a percentage that they have to come up with of the total project, it's of the match amount for the application itself. And the third one was the ability for the department to contract services so they could get the program stood up as quickly as possible. Those are only 3 changes. We've got a motion and a second on adoption of House Committee Substitute. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Committee Substitute 2 is adopted. We have before us House Bill 723 is amended by House Committee Substitute 2. And then proceed, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members, for hearing House Bill 723. House Bill 723 is the update to last year's House Bill 9. House Bill 9 established the Government Resource Accelerating Needed Transformation Program, grant for short. Essentially, the legislation provided a framework and fund for local match component of federal grants. Since the summer of 23, Chairman Petrie and I, along with subject matter experts, federal agencies and officials, area development districts, universities, and local officials have worked to educate communities all over the Commonwealth of Kentucky about the grant program. The reception of the federal grant match program has been enormously positive, transformative community projects that would have never happened or never been made possible without this local grant and support from the state. So when we began in 2023, the federal program had designated 41 counties in coal-impacted eastern and western Kentucky as priorities for the federal reserves, or federal resources. Since then, the Interagency Working Group on Coal and Power Plant Communities has expanded those designations to cover virtually the entire state. These expanded destinations have necessitated changes to the grant program. Mainly, we have made all 120 counties, cities in those counties, 501c3 nonprofits, eligible for applications. We've also created scoring criteria that includes additional weighting for federally prioritized areas. So I appreciate the committee's consideration. Be happy to answer any questions.
Have a motion and a second. Excuse me. We had a motion and a second on House Bill 723 as amended by Committee Sub 2. Any member seeking recognition? Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question, and you may need to answer this for me after we finish. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but can you describe the scope of categories of where these funds can be used? I mean, what should people be asking for?
That has changed. When it went from 41 counties to 120 counties, the scope now has to be brought to us by city governments, county governments, and nonprofits, and then the types of projects has had to be reined in. That's why the projects are being weighted so that we can get the ones that move the needle, so to speak, the ones that have the most impact on the community, long-term positive impact, and sidewalks and murals won't get the job done.
So we talked about this a lot of times in a lot of different settings, and so we're really looking for as transformational programs as we can by leveraging the federal dollars and having the state make the great majority of the applicant match. But it'll be things from workforce to housing to roads to just about any kind of infrastructure to programs regarding, could be substance abuse, could be a lot of different things. And we have always hesitated to box that in because we want everyone to think very broadly and very, very foundationally. So as we've been saying all interim, if you've got any questions about whether something would pertain to a grant in this bill that we're pointing to at the federal level, your ad district is your first point of contact. If you have an idea, I would go to your ad district and ask them if they can find something that's applicable. Yeah, if you've got a follow-up, go ahead.
It's just a comment that actually what I want to do is make sure I understand what's applicable so that when I'm talking to my ad district that we can be on the same page. And I was just a little concerned with reined in. I don't know if that's a funding issue or if it's a policy issue. I'm just a little confused today.
Yeah. As you know, there's only so much money to go around. With 41 counties, it was a lot more manageable. Even the bandwidth for writing grants and finding people who knew where to look to find, if their project was even on a federal list that they could apply for a grant. And with it now being 120 counties, it's just a lot larger to deal with. And again, I think the priority will be those projects that move the needle and do the most good for the most people, get the most bang for the buck and the best return on investment.
And I will point to, I think, energycommunities.gov. That is still a website clearinghouse for, you can look at it and see what grants are existing or new or maybe to be announced that will be in the pool of applicable grants at the federal level. Unfortunately, they're not set. And they're always there. They're always bubbling up, going away, and bubbling up and going away. And that's why we refer to it as infrastructure, workforce, and those types of categories. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Permission to ask a few questions?
Yes, please.
Sponsor, last year I was happy to support this bill, and there are a lot of good things about this program that I was happy to support, and I'm glad that our people are getting support like this. But my concern is the fact that it's being moved from the Department of Local Government to over to Ag. So can you talk about that a little bit?
I can, but to be honest with you, I'd like to defer to the chair, and I want to thank him for working with me. This has been a monster, and he has done a lot of the heavy lifting and has the legal mind to try to get all this together. So if you don't mind, Chair, I'll defer to you.
Perfectly fine and good question. That is a change from the 2023 version. Mm-hmm. So there was a very specialized group in DLG that worked on federal grants, maybe one or two people. It was very special, very niche. They did what they could do under the 2023 program, stood up an application or two, went around with us and talked about things. It looks like, and from all angles, and speaking with the Senate, the House, and everyone else, that not sure that they can pull weight on what's about to happen with the $450 million that's been proposed to go into this program. When it started up, it was about a $2 million placeholder. There's been some communication difficulties as well as collaborative difficulties in working on applications and some other things that have been reported, but I think the main consideration is the volume that's about to pass, and I don't know that they can do it. So what we've looked at is administratively attaching it to the Department of Agriculture, and there would be a commission/board that would actually oversee this program. So Department of Ag would be the administrative support agency for that. It looks like, in speaking with the Department of Ag, they have enough staff to, more than just two, they have enough staff to lend support to this very quickly, as well as the ability to contract up, but they think they have in line additional personnel that can come on fairly fast to administer the program. And I will refresh everybody just to make sure we're clear. This program is dependent on the federal government and its guidelines. So this program is not one that will go on, at least today, will not go on for a decade. It will go on through about 2026, always subject to change, but that's what it looks like. We think this can be stood up very fast with sufficient personnel and even the possibility of contract services, that we can get these applications processed very quickly. Now, mind you, the 2023 program is not being terminated, it's just being sunset. So whoever's in process under that, fine. The money is still there as it's available. It'll just simply be transitioned. It'll be transitioned out eventually. There will be some oversight that they have to continue with, and this program will simply be stood up alongside of it.
Did you all work with DLG to work on the transition?
On the transition piece, no. I attempted personally to work with them on the setup part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members seeking recognition on House Bill 723 as amended by Committee Substitute 2? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bray,
Yes.
Representative Brown, Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fleming, Representative Fraser Gordon, Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
No.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative McPherson, Representative Palumbo, Representative Raymond, Representative Riley, Representative Stevenson,
Briefly explain my vote.
Briefly.
Again, I think that these grants are great, but I have concerns about the move, even though I appreciate your explanation. For today, I'm going to be a no, but I'll reserve my right to change my vote on the floor.
Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. All right, House Bill 723 is amended by Committee Substitute 2, having received 17 yes votes, 2 nay votes, and 1 pass vote will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to take up House Bill 8, an act relating to revenue, sponsored by Representative Petrie. And I think there had been a section-by-section summary given out to make sure we could digest this to some, and I'm going to work from that section summary for the most part. This may be, I'm somewhat happy to announce, this may be the most boring revenue bill we've had since I've chaired this committee, and I'm particularly happy with that at the moment. So what we have in sections 1, 2, and 3 of PHS 1, and we've not adopted it yet, but it's what we're going to be referring to. PHS 1 would have 1, 2, and 3 sections with the petroleum storage tank accounts. This is basically an extension of what's been going on for years, no changes. 4, a new tire fee, that's another extension that's been going on for years. Department of Revenue on Section 5, they already submit a report about tax law changes to the governor. The executive branch, this just says submit the same report to the legislative branch. Sections 6, 7, 8, and 9 deal with parimutuel tax revenue distribution. No new taxes. These are redistribution proposals within what tax is already being collected. Minor addition to the redistribution. Number 10 is a technical correction that the statute revisers have caught. It's just too correct. 11, sales and use tax. There's a de minimis filing threshold for certain services. It was $6,000. This proposes to go to $12,000. Sections 12 and 13, sales and use tax. We have dealt with this issue 2 or 3 sessions in a row. This would exempt currency and bullion from the sales and use tax. Section 14, an inheritance tax issue that's popped up of late. Department of Revenue seems to expansively read powers of appointment to bring them within the inheritance tax. We're proposing that there be a definition that keeps us to general powers of appointment that would trigger the inheritance tax. That would bring us into great compliance with the way the federals look at it, as well as most states around us. Sections 15, 16, and 17 will deal with an income tax credit. Bad word, but there's a reason for this. It's a bad phrase, qualified broadband investment. We have BEAD money that's coming down in substantial amounts, and we've had large amounts that we put into broadband development. We think that this, which is a 5-year program capped at $5 million a year, will incentivize more players to come into Kentucky to help us get broadband deployment accomplished. 18 is an income tax update to the Internal Revenue Code, excuse me, through December 31, 2023. We've done this like 2-3 years in a row, updating, and what this does is it helps filers only have one set of codes that they deal with that have a lot of parity between them, rather than having the state version as well as the federal version that differ in too many places. Section 19 will redefine general fund appropriations relative to House Bill 8 in 2022, so that when appropriations are made strictly out of the Budget Reserve Trust Fund and nominated as such, they would not count against the conditions and triggers in House Bill 8 from 2022. That's referring to one-time expenditures. Section 20, income tax. There was a combined reporting concept, I think, that was introduced back in 2016. This will delay its full implementation for 2 more years. It has been delayed until recently. We're going to look at it over the next 2 years and see what we're going to do with it. That was an issue that popped up late. Coal severance tax, we're going to continue with the export credit, which has been ongoing. This just extends that program. Sections 22, 23, and 24 deal with electric vehicle ownership fee in a very small way, and simply takes that annual fee and says it does not apply to a hybrid vehicle which does not have a plug-in component to it. Section 25 is a personal ID card fee for those persons who do not have a permanent address. There is a $5 fee currently charged for them to obtain a personal ID. This would get rid of that $5 charge. Sections 26 through 39 really related to budget bill provisions that were taken out. This would be non-codified language. And the same thing on 40 through 45. These are application and effective date provisions. We do have, as I explained, this is committee substitute 1 to House Bill 8. I'll entertain a motion on adoption.
Motion on House Committee Substitute 1.
Have a motion and a second on adoption of House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 8. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 8 is adopted, and we have before us House Bill 8 as amended by the committee substitute. Any member seeking recognition for comment or question?
Move passage of House Bill 8 as amended by the sub.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on House Bill 8 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1. It's a live bill. Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question regarding sections 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is the parimutuel tax revenue distribution
Yes, sir.
clauses in the bill.
Yes.
I see here that some monies are being redistributed to Kentucky Problem Gambling. It appears it's coming from the developmental funds and not the general fund. Is that correct?
All of sections 6, 7, 8, and 9 deal with revenue tax that we collect off parimutuel activities. There is no new tax, there is no expansion of the base. It is simply a redistribution of that which is already being collected.
Okay, so amounts that are coming out of the excise tax fund that go to the developmental funds of the standardbred and thoroughbred developmental funds. So we're taking monies out of that to go towards Kentucky Problem Gambling.
Yes.
And one more question, if I could.
Yes, please.
After the new changes, do you have an idea of, based on revenues in the last year or so, what kind of monies are going to end up in the general fund?
Are you referring
After all the monies that go back into the industry from the excise tax, how much of net would end up in the general fund?
So are you looking at just section 6, 7, 8, and 9, not the entirety of the bill?
After applying this information, just a general question, do you have any idea, roughly, you may not have that on you, I was just curious if you knew approximately what kind of revenues we're bringing into the general fund, based on the revenues over the last year.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what physical note there would only catch if there was additional revenue gained or lost with these changes, since there's
I just didn't know if you knew.
So, no, I do not, but we
Okay.
can follow up with you if you need
Okay,
to.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I can probably figure it out by looking at the report, so not a big deal.
Okay. If you need anything, let us know. Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you explain section 14 to me a little bit more? The redefine the power of appointment to mean only general power of appointment. That might as well as be Chinese.
All good. So I'm not a tax attorney, but I'm going to explain what we're attempting to do and how we're trying to be in accord with what happens for federal designation as well as most states around us. So of recent, it seems like the Department of Revenue has taken a new interpretive stance on whether a power of appointment will trigger an inheritance tax event. Powers of appointment are generally looked at as a general power of appointment or a specific or limited or special, okay? Up until very recently, only general powers of appointment triggered taxable events. But of recent, there's been a new approach where even the specifics the specials can bring that in. That really has nothing to do with inheritance tax and really has nothing to do with the planning that people do. It's the general power of appointment, especially when someone can transfer something to themselves under a power of appointment, and that usually happens in the general. That's when a tax event is really looked at. And that's what's been historically seems to be true in Kentucky and in most states around us and at the federal level. We're just trying to avoid what looks to be an odd interpretation that's taken very recently and keep us where we have been.
Okay. Thank you. And then one more. Can you talk a little bit about section 39, the employee health insurance benefit assessment?
Section 39, non-codified language, was that? That was, so the reason I asked if it's something that was taken out of the budget language was the question that I asked to Ms. Hayes next to me, is we had dealt with a budget issue, and when she reviewed the budget bill, she said that's probably more appropriate to be in the revenue bill. The personnel cabinet, and I know you've got the same thing that I'm looking at, personnel cabinet may collect benefits assessment for health insurance coverage. If I'm recalling right, this is not a new fee that's being added on. This is allowing that to continue so it doesn't go away.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
That it?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else seeking recognition for comment or question? Seeing none, we have House Bill 8 as amended by Committee Substitute 1 with a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Please call the roll.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bentley, Representative Bowling, Representative Bray, Representative Brown, Representative Dietz,
Yes.
Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fleming, Representative Frazier Gordon, Representative Freeland,
Yes.
Representative Fugit,
Yes.
Representative Gentry,
Explain my vote, please.
Just please briefly.
I'm a yes today, but I do just want to make a quick comment regarding our racing game, or not racing, I'm sorry, our gaming model in Kentucky still lacks any excise tax funds at all to go to local governments where facilities are located, and that's a very, very big rarity across the United States of anybody that has machine-type gaming. And I'd like to see us address that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative McPherson, Representative Palumbo, Representative Raymond, Representative Riley, Representative Stevenson,
Pass.
Representative Upchurch,
Yes.
Chair Petrie.
Yes. House Bill 8, as amended by Committee Substitute 1, having received 18 yes votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 pass vote, will be reported with favorable expression that same should pass on the floor. And I will note that we have a title amendment.
Motion on title amendment. Second.
Have a motion and a second on adoption of the title amendment. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Title amendment is adopted. Any member seeking recognition? Going